If you are curious about Love and Deepspace and you're thinking about giving it a try, I want you to watch this video first. You've seen the ads, maybe you've seen a couple of edits on TikTok that have piqued your interest, and now you are Love and Deepspace curious. That is exactly where I was about a month ago when I started dabbling in Love and Deepspace after having started and fallen off really quickly back in April. But I really gave it a go about a month ago, and as someone who had very little experience with gacha games and very little experience with otome games, it was a pretty large learning curve, which is why I'm making this video. I'm gonna go into what the game is, what you do in the game, what is the monetization like in the game. Hopefully you'll be a little bit more informed about what all is happening in the game, because there is a lot. First, let's just go into the very basics of what this game is. It is a 3D otome or dating game with 4 love interests, but soon to be 5 in a couple of weeks. They recently announced the 5th love interest. It is free to play, but it is also a gacha game. We'll talk more about the monetization later on in the video. It is a heavily narrative focused game. The narrative will focus on your journey as the main character, as well as your relationship with the 4/5 love interests. There is magic sort of, except it's more of a sciencey explained kind of magic, and there is also a lot of combat. You'll be leveling up your combat skills and participating in trials, story-based combat experiences. We'll go more into detail about that as well later. Now let's go into the basics of the story. This is really just gonna be like the overarching story, and I'm not gonna get into any details or anything like that. So in the game, your main character is a deep space hunter, and there is some light customization at the very beginning. To understand what a deep space hunter is, we have to go back a little bit to the past in the game, which is the year 2034. In 2034, something called the Deep Space Tunnel opened up over the main city. At this time, you were about 7 to 8 years old, and it was a catastrophic event because a lot of creatures called wanderers poured out of the tunnel and killed a lot of people, including the main character's parents. Now, the main character was saved by a mysterious figure and then taken in by an elderly woman named Josephine along with another boy, Caleb. Now, as an adult, you've joined the Deep Space Hunters, and your job is basically to find and kill wanderers and also collect protocores, which are energy-infused crystals that drop when wanderers are killed. These crystals power and enhance all sorts of things in society. The main character is also something called an evolver, which is basically someone who has powers of one form or another. The powers are called your evil. The main storyline revolves around your role as a deep space hunter, as well as your journey to learn things that are sort of mysterious about yourself and your past. Now, this is a dating game, so of course there are the love interests. The love interests are interwoven into the main story, so you'll be interacting with them and they'll be helping you along on your journey. But there are also individual storylines to experience with the main love interests as well that aren't necessarily connected to the main story. The main love interests are Xavier, he is a fellow deep space hunter, Zane, who is your primary care physician, Raphael, who is an artist that hires you as a bodyguard, Silas, who is the leader of a criminal organization and in a lot of ways is kind of in opposition to the Deep Space Hunters as an organization, and the future love interest that is going to be added, who may already be in the game by the time you are watching this video, is Caleb, who is that boy that grew up with you in Josephine's house. And here's the kicker with the love interest, okay? The main character has a particular ability to reincarnate many times. And she doesn't know this, or at least it doesn't seem like she does. Each of the 4 guys has met and fallen in love with a previous incarnation of the main character. These are all explained in their myths and backstories, but it provides so much delicious angst because they know the main character. They have all of this history with the main character, at least previous versions of her, but she doesn't know them. So there's so much like yearning and pining and angst, and it's just delicious. Now we're gonna talk about what you actually do in the game, and I have my game up, so I'm gonna kind of use it to go through everything. And I would say that the main 3 pillars of the game are the story, the combat, and the dating aspect. So let's take those one by one. So the main storyline is something that will unlock as you go. You have access to a lot of it when you first start, but then you'll notice that as you progress, some of the storyline chapters become locked behind being a certain level. In order to gain experience, you will have to do daily tasks, and you get a certain amount of XP every single day. So it will take some time to get enough XP to fully go through the story, but I kind of like that. They pace it out for you so it doesn't go by too fast. The main storyline is really formatted similarly to like a visual novel. You'll have a mix of like 2D and 3D images to interact with. It is voice acted, which I think is really nice, and you'll just kind of go through, listen to the story, read your parts of the story, and it will progress that way. So right now there are 3 main sections, and they each have different chapters inside of them. They're also going to be adding to the story once the new update comes out, which I'm really excited about. Next, let's talk about the combat. So like I said, there is combat in the storylines, but there are also different battle modes for you to go through as well. They're not going to all be here when you first start the game, but you'll unlock them. Now, these combat modes do different things. There are bounty hunts, which will get you certain materials that you need. There's core hunt, which will get you protocores and the materials you need to upgrade them. There's also deep space trial, hunter contest, and abyssal chaos, which I'm not going to go too much into right now because it can be quite overwhelming. They explain the different things when you unlock them. These are really important to do because they will give you a lot of resources that you need. Okay, now let's talk about the dating aspect of it. So when it comes to the dating, there are quite a few different things to do. You'll see here on the home screen, this is Raphael. He's just sitting reading a book, and you can click on the little bubbles and have various interactions with him. More will unlock as you raise your affinity with him, which is kind of like the level of your relationship. When we go into the date menu, there's a couple of different things here: playtime, photo studio, by your side, falling for you, and anecdotes. Playtime is basically mini games that you can play. There is a photo studio with a couple of different modes where you can take photos with the various love interests, or by yourself if you want to as well. By your side has 2 different things. One of them is called secret times, and one of them is called tender moments. These are little storylines or experiences that you can have with the love interests. Secret times are more podcasty, like you just have to listen to them, and they are ASMR with lots of like whispering and sighs and groaning and moaning and stuff like that. Some of them are a little bit risque, but those are nice. And then there's also tender moments, which are little storylines, but they're not very interactive. It's just a picture and then you read it and listen to it. Falling for You is going to be the really juicy stuff. These are the more interactive, I guess, higher quality experiences and storylines. And there are 3 different types under here, and I'll talk about how you get more of these. You'll see, since I'm fairly new, there's a lot that I haven't unlocked. There's a lot of stuff that I missed. There are 3 different types. There's Bond. Bond are storylines that you automatically get once you reach a certain affinity level with them. Memoria are like standard memories. These are just various storylines that revolve around you and the love interest in the current timeline that you're living. But then I think the most coveted, and I would maybe say important for the storyline, are the myths. Remember I mentioned that the guys have met and been with previous versions of the main character? This is where you're gonna see that, okay? For example, you'll be playing as a previous reincarnation of the main character, and you'll be experiencing that particular love story. This is where we're gonna get a lot of those like lore drops and those really important storylines for the backstory of these characters. And then anecdotes are just stories that you read. These are also very important for the lore. There's some that takes place in the current time, some in the past, some in the future. They're really good. So that's basically the stuff that you do. But we haven't talked about pretty much one of the most integral pieces of this game, which is the memories and wishing, okay? So like I said, this is a gacha game. And what that means, if you're not familiar with gacha, is that you have a lot of different currencies, and I'll talk some more about those in just a second, but you use those currencies to make, in this game it's called wishes. When you make a wish, one wish will get you one card, and you don't have any control of what card you're gonna get. It may be a card that you've never had before, or it may be a duplicate of a card. You just don't know. So there's a lot of chance to it. When we're in this screen right here that has the, what we call banners, which are the pages that you pull off of, there are gonna be different ones. There is what's called the permanent banner, which is what you're seeing right here. This one doesn't ever go away, and there are certain cards that are like standard memories that are gonna be available all the time. So you could pull on this really anytime that you wanted to. Now there are also limited banners. This one was a little bit more spicy, so I'm gonna kind of blur out some of the stuff on there. Limited banners are only available for a certain amount of time, and they have special cards, and once the banner is gone, those cards are gonna be gone with no way to get them unless they eventually put them into the standard rotation, or if they do a rerun, which they haven't done yet to my knowledge, but maybe someday. So you'll get different currencies that you use to make wishes or to pull on the banner. For the permanent banner, it is the Empyrean Wish, and for the limited banner, it is Deep Space Wish. And I have a lot fewer of those because I just pulled on this Nightly Rendezvous banner. Now let's look at a memory so that you can see exactly what it is that you are wishing for, okay? So these are the memories. These are all the ones that I have gotten from wishing or for pulling on the banners. Memories are used for two main things. Number one, they unlock different storylines for you, and number two, they're used in combat. So let's look at an example of that. You can see the rarity level. This one is a 5-star card. It'll have a name. There's a few things on here that I'm not really gonna get into in this video just to keep things simple, but you will see stats for the memory. So there's HP, attack, defense, crit rate, crit damage, and then a talent, a special talent that that card has when you're using it in combat. When you get a card, it will start out at level 1, and you can upgrade it using various resources. The way that it looks when you're using them in battle is, let's see, let me do a bounty hunt. You have different weapons that you can use. There's a great sword, a smaller sword, a claymore, a wand, and firearms. You'll basically choose the cards that you want to use, and you will gain those stats when you're doing the battle, and any of the talents, you'll have those available to you when you're doing the battles. So that's basically how that works. Now the cards also do something else really important, which is unlocking those memories, those storylines in the dating part of the game. For the most part, 4-star cards are going to unlock either secret times or tender moments, and 5-star cards are going to unlock stuff in the Falling For You section, either Memoria or the Myths. The 5-star ones are going to be like fully animated. There's usually like a really well done cutscene. This is called the Kindled section, but then there's also like the visual novel elements of it as well. So it's very interactive, and it's the thing that people typically want the most. Next, let's talk about the monetization of it all and how that works. This is a gacha game, so you're gonna be getting random cards when you make wishes. Now, there is a lot that goes into that. There's a pity system, which makes it to where you're guaranteed a 5-star card after a certain number of pulls. There are crates that you can earn after a certain amount of pulls that lets you pick a random card. And cards are also given to you in other ways as well. There are events which can give you a card for free after doing a certain number of things, like doing a certain activity or even just checking in for a certain number of days. But for the most part, you're gonna be getting cards through that wish mechanic. Let's look at the shop and talk about really quickly some of the monetization that happens in the game. One of the main currencies you're going to be operating with is diamonds. Diamonds can be earned by playing the game, and you use diamonds to purchase wishes. If you want to be making pulls, you need to be earning diamonds. There is another currency called crystals, and crystals are the ones that you have to purchase. These are going to be purchasable for real money. Crystals will allow you to purchase some things that only crystals can buy you, like certain outfits and things like that, but you can also exchange crystals for diamonds if you need to. There are a lot of other little currencies that you'll earn by doing other activities in the game. Some of them are event specific. So right now we have these tour marks, which is like a little currency that you get from doing activities in the current event. Chocolate shop, you get chocolates from doing mini games. The lunar shop has lunar emblems. Lunar emblems you get when you rank up a 5-star lunar memory. When you get a duplicate of a memory, you don't have 2 of them. Instead, it will rank up the memory that you have, which will give it a little bit of a stat boost. And when that happens, you'll get this lunar emblem currency. And then heart sand shop. Heart sands you get once you've fully ranked up a memory to rank 3. If you get another duplicate of it, then you'll get heart sands. There's kind of a lot going on here. So if there's something specific that you would like me to go into, let me know down in the comments and I'll definitely go into more detail. So just to sum up, the basic gameplay loop that you're gonna have when you're first starting out is you're gonna be going through the storyline to learn about the main character and the love interests. You'll be doing various activities to earn diamonds and resources and to gain affinity with your love interests. And you'll be using wishes that you get from various means to unlock more memories to both increase your combat potential and increase the amount of storylines that you can experience with the love interests. Plus, once you have the memories, you'll be using resources to level those up so that you can do higher and higher level battles for even more resources. So there y'all have it. That is the basics of the basics of the basics of Love and Deepspace. I feel that I have barely scratched the surface, but again, I hope that that is knowledge that if you choose to start playing Love and Deepspace, or maybe you've just started it and you're very confused, you can take that knowledge to provide a foundation upon which you can learn more things about the game. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you never miss a video from me. I also stream on Twitch. I stream both co-working streams for productivity as well as cozy games like Infinity Nikki is the one I'm playing the most these days. Also be sure to join my Discord. I have the link down below. It is an amazing community of like-minded people. We have a lot of chats about gaming in there, but we also talk about other things like anime and books. It's also a great place to keep up with me and the various content that I'm doing. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye. Raphael says bye too.